Here's a little bit of what's coming up this weekend on the Central Indiana Sports Report. Already Saturday, we released a Mike Rich's reaction to the Pacers' loss in Miami and Grant Schaus's preview of IU men at Washington. Also, we had a boys basketball report with Marion Chronicle sports editor Scott Hunt on Oak Hill's win over Delta. Later Saturday, we have our boys basketball scoreboard show with interviews with Frankton head coach Brent Brobston, Oak Hill head coach Kevin Rinbarger, Tri Central head coach Cam Heineman, Muncie Central head coach Justin Olam, and Anderson Prep assistant coach Mike King. We will also begin our IndyCar coverage this weekend, and we'll have our boys swimming state finals scoreboard show and our girls basketball state finals scoreboard show. Coming up on Monday, we have our boys basketball postseason special with Michelle Garman and our girls basketball state finals recap with Grant Schaus and Michelle Garman. Don't forget, every single day at 1 o'clock is our Sports Center style scoreboard show where we go over all the local high school, college, and professional sports in Central Indiana. You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 191.2.2, our basketball report with the Action Sports Network's Kevin Helfrich on Daleville's 71-65 overtime win at Madison-Grant on Friday night.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Welcome, Kevin Helfrich of the Action Sports Network. Had Madison-Grant against Daleville tonight. An absolute thriller. A game that was kind of a bit of a roller coaster. Madison-Grant got behind, made a run, but Daleville comes out in the end in overtime. Kevin, tell us how it happened.
Well, it was really a lackluster start for Madison-Grant, who came in winning 4 of their last 5, but a slow start just in that first quarter. They fell behind by as many as 14 points. At the end of the first quarter, it was 19-5 Daleville. And the problem all night for the Argyles was containing and trying to stop Hunter Sahana. He went for a career-high 42 points against Madison-Grant. He was just unstoppable all night long. He was 16 of 23 from the floor. But Madison-Grant did manage to battle back in this one. They were able to get the game to within 2 points in the third quarter on a couple different occasions. But, again, Daleville seemed to have the answers all night long. They pushed the lead back out to 7 by the quarter's end. And then in the fourth quarter, Madison-Grant takes their first lead on a Gilman bucket with just under 5 minutes to go. And you think Madison-Grant may have made that climb up the hill and was going to stay on top, but it was not to be tonight. Daleville was able to then take the lead right back on a Sahina 3, and then it was nip and tuck down the stretch. The ball game comes down to two more ties in the final few minutes of regulation. Madison-Grant actually with a chance to win this game in the final 30 seconds. They hold the ball to try to go for one shot, but they don't even get a shot attempt off, and we go into overtime, and at that point, Daleville never looks back. They take the lead early in overtime and win this one by 6, 71-65. As again, it was Sahina who hit the big bucket, leading by 1. He hits a driving layup off a side inbounds pass, and this one just not the night for Madison-Grant. That first quarter was devastating, and then in overtime, again, shooting woes continue. Just 3 of 11 in that overtime period, and tough way to end the regular season for Madison-Grant when it looked like they had turned the corner and were playing some of their best basketball. Not the way you want to head into Tuesday night sectional play. The good thing about it, though, is they get a Muncie Burris team that they just handled quite easily by 24 points earlier in this week. So you just forget about this one, I guess, if you're Madison-Grant, and look forward to a new season ahead.
Well, Kevin, it sounds like there were some good things about the performance tonight. They got behind early. They did make a big comeback, showed some toughness, some grit. They end up coming up on the wrong side against a Daleville team that I've been saying all year. They are much more talented than their record indicates.
Boy, if you would have just not known what their record was coming into this one, you would think this team had won, double-figure games and
And
they had
they
a
had
few
Frankton.
really good athletes.
They had Frankton on the ropes just about a week ago.
Right, I think what they lost that game maybe by 1 point, I think,
Yeah.
but they've had some games. They can score the basketball. This is a team that has scored upwards of 68 plus points, I think, in 9 different occasions this year. So they can put points on the board. They have some really good offensive players, and I thought tonight the difference was, especially early on, they were the more aggressive team defensively as well. They got after Madison-Grant a little bit, and once Madison-Grant, got accustomed to that. They gave it right back and got back in this basketball game, but it was a little bit too little, too late, and they were just fighting uphill all night long. Was Madison-Grant, but Ike Almeida had a tremendous night. He was the most steady player for the Argyles. He poured in 24 points to go along with his
Nice.
7 rebounds. He was just, he was the man all night for Madison-Grant. They
And
did have some guys who
they
stepped up a
really
little
need
bit
him.
later.
They really need him to be a guy who scores around 20 for them to be successful. I think, especially against an Alexandria team that they're going to be much taller and much bigger than, and much experienced in the semifinals. Most likely, let's just assume they get past Burris. Um,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
the thing about that, Alexandria's whole team was there tonight to see this one. So, they'll be ready for Madison-Grant if they do indeed face
absolutely.
off on that Friday night. But the good thing for Madison-Grant, though, is they've beaten Alexandria. It was a close basketball game, no doubt. But if you're Madison-Grant, you got to go in. You can beat Muncie-Verse, and you can beat Alexandria because you've done it already to both of those teams. And then if you happen to get fortunate enough to get to that Saturday night, you're going to have to take down the Wapahani Raiders more than likely. So a big challenge is ahead, no doubt, for Madison-Grant. You go in and you'll be able to practice at Blackford tomorrow, I think, get some shots up and turn the page.
And if Blackford is somehow able to upset Wapahani, they would also be very difficult to beat in the final round. Who else performed well tonight for Madison Grant?
Well, I thought really Luke Gilman, he had 10 points. I thought he was steady pretty much for the Argyles tonight, hit some big shots. And then off the bench, Levi Nelson, I thought gave them a nice lift in the second quarter alone. He scored 7 points in that quarter, finishes with 9. He really did a nice job. And then I thought Brock Barnhart hit some big three-pointers in that third quarter that got Madison Grant close. He had been quiet the entire first half, but I thought he had a big third quarter. And Xavier Yagi hit a big three-pointer late in the fourth quarter that tied the game at 57. He had been shut out through the first 3 quarters, but he finishes with 7 points on this night as well. So, Madison Grant unable to get this last one and close out what would have been a good finish to the regular season if they could have gotten this one tonight. And it's one that I think a lot of people thought this was a game Madison Grant would win at home, but it just wasn't meant to be tonight.
And my favorite thing about all the names you just listed is they are all great kids. I can attest to it. Who played well for Daleville, Kevin?
Well, Daleville, obviously the star of stars tonight was, Hunter Sahina, and he just was unstoppable. I mean, Madison Grant tried anything and everything and everybody on him, but nobody was slowing him down. And they got some big shots from Noah Colvin, especially in
Yeah,
that
nice
first quarter.
player.
He had 2 big three-pointers. He finishes with 11 points. Those are the only 2 guys in double figures. Josh Wilson does end up with 8 points and only takes 4 shots, but he hits 3 of them. So when he got his opportunities, he knocked down shots tonight as well. But I was impressed with this Daleville team. Their starting 5 is a solid starting 5. They don't really go real deep off that bench, but Kevon Whitworth, who really didn't see many minutes tonight, he hit a big three-pointer when he came in the second quarter, and then he scored the first bucket in overtime. So in his only 2 shot attempts, he converted both of them. So credit to that guy who was ready when his number was called tonight.
And we look here at Daleville in a sectional that is very winnable. I mean, there is no single team that stands out as the favorite in that one. I guess you'd say Southwood because they have the best player in the sectional, but Daleville with a win like this has to like their chances. By the way, Tri Central big win over Northfield tonight.
Yeah, I think Daleville's got to like their chances in their first game against Tri-Central. This is a team they did lose to in overtime earlier this season, but like you said, there's not a team in there, I don't think, with a winning record. Southwood may be at 500 now with a big win tonight against Bluffton that I really didn't see coming after watching
No,
Bluffton play Eastbrook the other
no,
night. I thought this was a good Bluffton team, but Southwood
yeah.
starting to put things kind of together, and they're going to be playing that at home, so advantage there to Southwood. But I think, like you said, Southwood, they're probably the favorite if there
Southwood
is
is
one
definitely.
team.
I definitely think Southwood is the favorite, but do you think they are definitely going to beat Northfield? I wouldn't say that.
No, I wouldn't say that either. I mean, you're talking about county rivals there, and anything can happen, especially in a sectional, but also when you play your county opponent. And then, I wouldn't sleep on this Daleville team.
No.
So when you have a player that can put up 42 points in a basketball game, you've got something special. And he was a special player tonight, and he'll have to be that in the sectional for them as well. But on any given night, I've seen Southwood play a few times too. They're kind of up and down as well. So
Yeah. And by the
this is
way,
a sectional that anybody can get.
Cowan is a very young team, but they have a chance to make a run as well. And West Dell, they're the only game in the first round that we know who's going to win, and that what West Dell's going to win their first round game almost certainly. So you kind of got to like their chances too.
Yeah, right. They tip off. I think was Southern Wells, maybe who's won one game, and so
Yes.
yeah, I think this is going to be one of those sectionals that if you're a fan, you kind of go into that. Your team's got a shot.
Yeah.
So you just take it game by game in that scenario, and I think that's an 8-team sectional, so everybody's going to have to play the same amount of games to come out of there as well. So that'll be an interesting one, no
And
doubt.
Tri Central as well, if they can get by Daleville, you know,
Right.
that they are definitely talented enough to win that.
Yeah, and they really, I mean, credit to them too. They could have easily, when they dug themselves that hole in the first quarter, they could have just given it up and thought it wasn't their night, but they did. The true competitors that they are,
They
they
really
battled
are.
back and they made it a game and gave themselves a chance, and it just wasn't meant to be tonight. But they'll live to see next week, and I like their chances next week in their first couple games for sure.
And a few of those guys have a really good baseball season to look forward to when it's done as well. So,
Oh yeah, Madison-Grant has had some good baseball teams over the years, and I'm sure they're not ready to give up on this basketball season. But you're right.
no.
When that season does come to an end, they'll have that baseball season to look forward to, and spring's always a good time of year.
Thank you so much to Kevin Helfrich for the report on Daleville's win over Madison Grant. And thank you for listening. Please go like, subscribe, or follow us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, or YouTube so you don't miss a single segment. And please tell a friend about the Central Indiana Sports Report. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susie.